as a public interest research and advocacy arm within the foundation. The think tank consists of a team of researchers who specialize in a diverse array of critical areas such as climate change, ecological disasters, climate finance, economics, public policy, forestry and wildlife, education, renewable energy, agriculture and biogas. The think tank will serve as a platform for generating knowledge, disseminating information and influencing public opinion and policy. I'd now like to invite Mr. Burman, our chairman, for the inaugural address.
Just a second.
Thank you, Jessica. I hope you all enjoyed the short film on dolphins, which was very entertaining. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
वो एक्चुअली है ना
I
इसका
welcome
ये
you all to the insightful
ये वर्क नहीं कर रहा
discussion
है
on the plight of dolphins in India. We are privileged to host some of the most esteemed experts in the field.
थोड़ा नीचे कर दो उसको
Why, you may ask, are we focusing on dolphins tonight?
नीचे कर
Unknown to many, these intelligent animals face severe threats to their existence. Pollution,
ठीक है
habitat destruction, and unregulated human activities have pushed them towards the brink of extinction in our country. Their survival inherently relies on the steps we take today to protect the habitat and conserve their presence. The gangetic dolphin is our national aquatic animal, and recently the Chief Minister of UP declared the gangetic dolphin as its state animal. This dual designation of the gangetic dolphin as both the national aquatic animal and the state animal of Uttar Pradesh underscores the immense cultural, ecological, symbolic importance of the species in the context of the Ganga. The Ganga, as a cradle of ancient civilization, has witnessed the ebb and flow of history, and its waters are infused with profound spiritual significance of millions of people. You might be reminded of the Indus Valley civilization and why it disappeared. The river disappeared, and so the civilization disappeared. And that's what's happening to the Ganga. River dolphins are critical indicators of the river's overall health. Their presence signifies the ecological balance, reminding us of the urgent need to restore and rehabilitate our water bodies. Tonight's panel discussion will be a platform for exchange of ideas, expertise, and experiences. Our distinguished guests will illuminate the importance of conserving dolphins in India, highlight successful international conservation models, and propose actionable ideas that can be applied in our own context. Yet, this event is not solely about this discussion. It holds the power to invoke change. Each one of us in this room has the capability to make a tangible difference in the lives of these endangered species and the fragile ecosystem they inhabit. It is a collective responsibility to embrace sustainable practices in our daily lives. If the dolphins disappear, we will soon disappear. You think about that. This event provides an opportunity to ignite change in policy, influence public opinion, inspire innovative solutions. Together, we can create a movement that goes beyond this room and instigates transformative actions that will safeguard these dolphins and the ecosystem for generations to come. I implore each one of you to reflect upon our role as stewards of this planet and harness the power of collective action. By working together, we can create a future where these endangered dolphins not only survive, but thrive in harmony with their natural habitat. Thank you.
Mr. Berman would now like to felicitate our esteemed panelists. So I request So we start with G. Ashok Kumar Ji, who is the Director General of National Mission for Clean Ganga. I'd now like to invite Mr. Sanjay Upadhyay. Dr. Sandeep Bera. And Mr. Suresh Babu. And our moderator, Ms. Gargi Rawat. Thank you, sir. I'd now like to invite G. Ashok Kumar Ji for a special address. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Pratibhavan and the team of the Mobius Foundation. Thank you for inviting me for this function and also picking up the cause of the poor Dolphins who are gone down in number. And in the last 4-5 years, we have seen a great revival. From about 2,000 dolphins, we have reached a number of about 4,400 or 5,000 approximately. In the last couple of years, there have been tremendous improvement made in the habitat because as Mr. Berman was mentioning, it's all because the habitat was getting polluted, the number of dolphins had gone down, and we take this increasing number of dolphins and the increased sightings in dolphins in most stretches of the river and the increased sightings of the juveniles of the dolphins, which means they are now getting happily married and producing more kids. That is an indication to the success of our program. I represent the National Mission for Clean Ganga, which runs the National Namami Gange program. So I'll take 5 minutes to tell about the dolphins in the Ganges and also about the program which we run. National Mission for Clean Ganga runs this program, Namami Ganga, which was started in 2014, which is the which is one of the national flagship programs of the Government of India. And incidentally, it is also one of the top 10 eco-restoration flagship programs of the world. This was bestowed on us in December 2022, last year, at the COP 15 meeting in Montreal. A great achievement because the UN-led organization UNEP and FAO had surveyed almost 200 similar eco-restoration programs all over the world and picked up Namami Gange as one of the top 10, in fact it was the top 10 eco-restoration flagships of the world, based on three important parameters: halting environmental degradation, reversing environmental degradation with people's participation. These are the three main criteria, and we scored on all of them. And now, before getting into Namami Gange, I am having a timer with me, don't worry about that. I speak for more than enough of time. Before going into the Namami Gange, which I think people in Delhi should know, because I always say that Deepak Kalyan, Tera hai, we have done very good work. I am very proud to say that we have done a lot of good work in the mainstream Ganga. Unfortunately, you all see the dirty Yamuna in Delhi and says, kuch nahi hua hai. But kuch ho raha hai, abnormally kuch ho raha hai, something like that. Now, the dolphins today, on which we are talking about, and with a very wonderful diving deep with dolphins. Dolphins, the Gangetic dolphins, are the national aquatic animal, as was mentioned by Mr. Raman. This was declared as national aquatic animal in 2009, and ever since that, the efforts have been put by various organizations to improve the dolphin count is going on. But unless the habitation of these dolphins improve, they cannot survive. That was the problem. Ganga, the most important river of the country, very important in every sense, from mythological sense to traditional sense to Astha to political sense, everything. It is the home for almost 40% of India's population and also 40% of GDP in the country. So this is a very important river for the country as such. That was getting polluted mainly because of the untreated discharge of untreated water and untreated sewage and lot of industrial effluent release in the water. So in 2014, this Namami Gange program was initiated with a committed budget of 40,000 crores, non-lapsable. At that it was 20,000, and then in 2021, another 21,500 added. So that's about 40,000 crores. And most important is cutting the red tape and cutting the bureaucracy. This is a personal initiative of the Prime Minister Modi, when he came out with an order, authority order of Namami Gange, much to the opposition to all the bigger bureaucrats around him. The authority order of 2016 empowers the DG, Namami Gange, or DG NMCG, which presently I am in position, to sanction projects up to 1,000 crore rupees, which is a rare honor because no other bureaucrat probably would be having powers to sanction projects up to 1,000 crores, and also given a responsibility of monitoring and ensuring that there is a good regulation on it. Matlab, the DG is also designated as a regulator with powers to give directions to state governments as well as the industries and other stakeholders to take action necessary to ensure that there is no change in the biological, physiological, morphological, physical characteristics of the river. It's a tall order, always in conflict with many people. We have stopped almost 50 hydroelectric projects in Uttarakhand, and the entire Uttarakhand administration is against us, telling that you are anti-development. If I support them, all the environments we on our head telling that you are not supporting the environment. So it's a very complicated situation where we are in because of the powers the authority order gives us. So LNCG has, in a nutshell, I'll tell you, sanctioned almost 442 projects worth about 37,000 crores, and most of them, about 193 of them with about 32,000 crores, are on the pollution abatement activities. Basically, the sewage treatment plants and the networks for the cities on the banks of the river Ganga and its tributaries, and also taking up effluent treatment plants for industries. This has resulted in measurable, quantifiable increase in water quality in the Neemstar. So I have my figures with me, given by the labs and the scientists, but my biggest certificate is dolphin. Dolphins have increased from 2,000 to 5,000 to 4,400, and they have increased their habit stretch where they have found the sea from very small pockets to many stretches of the river and even into the tributaries. So this is an indication and a great testimony for us for the work we have done, we are doing with people's cooperation. Again, this is one of the points which the Honorable Prime Minister has been emphasizing and which we have been very religiously following, is that all our efforts would be and should be with people's coordination and participation. And that's where the Dolphins revival, I'll come to that. So in a nutshell, Namami Gange, we have an aspect for Nirmal Ganga, which means that the water flowing should be clean, Nirmal. Aviral Ganga, which means that there should be water flowing in the river, not like Yamuna where water is stagnant. A river is what? When it flows. So Aviral Nirmal Dhara, and then Gyan Ganga, which means that we should have a lot of information based on experience and research, which we have as part of the Gyan Ganga series, and then Jan Ganga, where we want to have people's participation. And the last point, which was emphasized by the Honorable Prime Minister, was Ardha Ganga, which means connecting people and river to an economic bridge. So unless we have something coming out of the project to the people, it will not be sustainable. We have had many interesting models of the HAM model, which is a hybrid energy model, then here one city, one operated model, etc., which is very unique to this type of sewage system in the world, and it is being replicated by World Bank and other agencies. I stop Namami Gange here with one more addition probably. We have taken up natural farming in a big way. We have taken up tourism on the banks of river in a big way. We have taken reuse and monetization of treated water and sludge in a big way. We have taken up capacity building of the municipalities on the banks of rivers in a big way. And we have now formed what is called as the River City Alliance. Alliance of cities on the banks of River Ganga, starting with River Ganga, which has now expanded to the alliance of cities on the banks of all rivers in the country. 142 cities are there with us. And because of the efficiency or the efficacy the people found in that program, we are now going global with the Global River City Alliance, probably launched on December in the COP28 in Dubai. That's about Namami Gange. And coming to the dolphins and why the dolphins is a very integral part for Namami Gange. Dolphins are declared as the national aquatic animal in 2019, and it's a Schedule 1, 2009, it is a Schedule 1 species, and they are indicated species for the water cleanliness because it is at the higher level of the food chain and it requires a good prey base. So if we have the highest predator on top thriving, it means that there are a lot of other fishes who are whom they are dependent on is also thriving. We have in India we have Gangetic dolphin, 80% of what is seen mostly in the Ganga basin, in mainly in the mainstem Ganga, but we have also in Ghagra, Ganga, Gomti, Yamuna, Champal, Rupnarayan rivers, etc. also access sea. Now, what were the threat faced by the dolphins? Obviously, it is about the poor quality of water in their habitat, and also unsustainable fishery practices. Lot of fishermen who used to catch fishes with smaller nets, ice. Lot of dolphins got entangled in the nets, and being a Schedule 1 species, nobody was willing to report it. They used to kill it because if they are found with the dolphin, they are arrested. So we had to have worked around with the fishermen to convince them that no harm will come to you if you report to us that the dolphins unfortunately entangled in mesh. We have a set of procure called Ganga prairies, 4,000 of them. I think Behra will continue, my friend Behra will be talking about it. 4,000 of Ganga prairies who have been taught and trained to rescue the dolphins entangled in the nets. We are taking them out, putting it back to the river, and also patting the fishermen for reporting to us instead of reporting to the police and arresting them. That made a lot of difference in that. Second is this improvement, the extensive use of fertilizers on the Ganga basin. The chemical fertilizers get leached with the rainwater and goes to the river and creates problems for the fishes. That is another important problem which we identified. And then fragmentation of the habitation, because we are extracting a lot of water for irrigation, and the stretches of river got very constricted, and in those areas we got dolphins trapped, inbreeding happened, which led to their incapability to adapt to those situations. So that is one reason. Again, the number of fishes went down, and also the movement of boats and other things creating aquatic pollution. Because, mind you, these dolphins are blind. Even though there's an eye, they are blind. They don't go by visual sight. They go by the echolocation. So the sound of motors and other vehicles movements creates confusion for them. So these are some of the reasons why its number came up. And how did we address it? We have, as I mentioned, started with taking up STPs. Large quantity of sewage water which is flowing into the river has been stopped, as good treated water is going to the river. We have promoted this CTP, which is meant for I know the time is coming up for 40 minutes, 1 more minute. So we have the CTP is built to tackle the industrial pollution. We have given e-flow guideline, that's the flow water to be flowed. We have Ganga prairies I mentioned, and another unique system which we developed was to put back fishes into the river. You have heard of catching the fishes from the river, but we did was to put back 93 lakhs of Indian major carps, the local endemic fishes, into the river. This 93 lakh fishes helped actually in creating a better prey base and also driving out the exotic species which used to create problem for them. So that's another initiative which we did. We promoted natural farming, we controlled fishing. We have returned to Chief Secretary that in the 4 months which doesn't have May, June, July, August. You know, if you put 12 months, these 4 months we don't have an R. And those are the months where the fishes are breeding. So we said that in these 4 months, please control fishing so that the fishes develop. So that is we have controlled fishing, and then we also took up initiatives with the WWF, WI, Wildlife Institute, etc., and huge awareness generation campaign, which has resulted in increased population. So thank you for this opportunity to make you aware of what we are doing, and more details my colleague Behra will tell you, and I stick to my time of 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for prizing us on what the National Mission for Clean Ganga has been doing. I'd now like to introduce our panelists for today. So we have Mr. Sanjay Upadhyay, who is a Supreme Court advocate and the founder and managing partner of India's first environmental law firm called Enviro Legal Defence Firm. Sanjay has been practicing environmental and development law since 1993. An India visiting fellow at the Gold Hall School of Law, University of California, Berkeley, and a legal intern to the Earth Justice Legal Defense Fund, San Francisco. He started his professional career at the Worldwide Fund for Nature, India, the Center for Environmental Law. Sanjay has served as an environmental and development law expert to most well-known international, multilateral, national and state institutions including the World Bank, IUCN, FAO of United Nations, UNDP, AFD, ILO, SDC, IC, Greenpeace, TERI, and the list goes on and on. His areas of expertise, like I shared, are environment and development law, and more specifically the legal and policy dimensions of natural resource management, including eco-tourism, eco-development, wildlife conservation, national parks and sanctuaries, biodiversity and forestry. Thank you, sir, for taking time out, and I'd like to invite you to please come to the panel. We have Mr. Suresh Babu, who's from the WWF. He is the Senior Director, Ecological Footprint at the WWF, and he's also been the Director, River Basins and Water Policy at the WWF. Welcome, sir, please. Dr. Sandeep Mehra, who's the Consultant Biodiversity at the National Mission for Clean Ganga at MOWR, RD and GR Government of India. He obtained the doctoral degrees in Population Dynamics, Habitat Utilization and Conservation of Gangetic Dolphin in the Upper Ganga River from Jivaji University, Gwalior in the year 1995. He worked in the WWF for 18 years till August 2014. Has guided several masters and doctoral dissertations related to river basin and biodiversity conservation. Welcome, sir. I invite you to the panel. And our moderator for today, Ms. Gargi Rawat, is a senior news anchor and environment reporter who has worked with NDTV 24/7 for the last 2 decades. For many years, she's been a regular face on the channel and has filmed several documentaries and environment-related programs. She's worked on the first ever news show on wildlife in India called Born Wild and anchored its Hindi version, Safari India, for the Hindi channel NDTV India. Gargi has also been editorial head for some of the best-known environmental campaigns carried out by the NDTV, including the Greenathon, Save Our Tigers and the Banega Swachh India campaign. She received widespread acclaim for her award-winning documentary series on the state of the river Ganga. She has just released her first book called Tiger Season, a work of fiction which has themes of tiger conservation and environmental concerns. Welcome, Gargi.
Thanks so much, Mr. Berman, for having us all gathered here on this very, very important topic of the Ganga. As Jessica mentioned, I've done a documentary on the Ganga and it's something very close to my heart. So thank you for creating this awareness. I was sorry to see Mr. Ashok Kumar go. He was supposed to be on the panel. And I was hoping to question him because in the last few years, we the media have not got enough opportunity to question, our bureaucrats and officers. They shy away from us a little bit more in the last couple of years. But great to have such a wonderful panel and everybody who's been so intrinsically involved on the issue of the Ganga and dolphins and environment. And Mr. Berman said, in his address about the need to save the dolphins, and if the dolphins disappear, how, it's a question on all of us and the Ganga. So I'd like to, start with you, Sandeep, about, if you talk about the dolphin. It's been a big passion of yours. He actually has a PhD on dolphins. the importance and significance of the dolphins in the Ganga.
Thank you. When I talk about dolphins, basically it is not my work, it is a passion for me. And I look at a different thing, like if you talk about dolphins and the river system, then the river system, dolphins are the indicator of good quality of water. That means it is the only mammal in the river system and it is the highest food chain. So if dolphins are there, all the aquatic biodiversity will be there. And if all the aquatic biodiversity will be there, starting from the zooplankton, phytoplankton, fishes and other things, then the whole ecosystem of the river will be in good health. And therefore, if you see a dolphin, then you can use the water. Human use can be.
And Mr. Kumar spoke very candidly about the Namami Ganga project and the various achievements, and I was very surprised about the number. I didn't know that the numbers have gone up to 5,000, so I want your view on
It is
that.
not 5,000, but yes, the number is definitely increased. But I don't bother about the numbers. You know, numbers is definitely needed for, for conservation policy makers. But what I believe is that distribution range has increased. The earlier when dolphins were not found, now dolphins are seen. Like in the stretch in between Kalwas and Kanpur,
Yes.
where the river was very polluted. And there was no dolphin sighted in last 20 years. I did surveys. But now you can see dolphins in Kanpur, downstream of Kanpur. You can see dolphins in upper stretches after Narada, when there was no water. Because there is now a regulation for inflow, the water they have to release from the barrage, and now the dolphins are seen downstream of the barrage. So that is important that the juveniles are seen, the dolphins are distributed in more stretches, and that is the indication for a good quality of water. And therefore people are claiming, media is also supporting that now. It is in the upper
numbers. Hopefully one day we'll see dolphins in the Yamuna here in Delhi. That can go up with one of those dreams. The involvement of the local, populations, community work, that is also something that has been spoken of. If you can tell us more about that, because during my filming I did go to the Vikramshila dolphin sanctuary, which is India's only dolphin sanctuary in Bihar. And it took some effort for them to get the villagers and fishermen on board, because immediately when you say there's it's a protected area, the local fishermen, it's a bit of a conflict with them. They feel now a lot of interference from the forest department. So these are some of the challenges that are seen on the ground.
I once again thank you for this opportunity, and I'm really honored to be in this panel with in the presence of two scholars, Sir Jitsi and Dr. we have done a lot for thank you, sir. It's great to have you. I want to go back to the artists. I think I just wanted to go on Mr. Kalman said. We lose our dolphins, we see spaces. Delhi will not have its water, and that's the urgency. Because the moment dolphins go, that means there is not enough water, there is poor water quality, there is no drinking. Delhi will not get its water from the So that's the urgency. So we need to be mindful of how we are dealing with our water. And I am very hopeful because we have seen Sandeep and some of us have seen dolphins in the Yamuna, Pateshwar downstream, and we have seen Chambal downstream where the river meets the Yamuna. We have plenty of them. And I am very hopeful that if we behave ourselves, the future generations are inspired to take action. Dolphins can come. Why I am saying this? There are, DG and MCD talked about bringing water back into the rivers. There are hundreds and thousands of farmers today, as we talk, adopting sustainable practices in agriculture to revive smaller tributaries of the Ganga. And that's essential because we need flows back in the river. Sandeep talked about an environmental flows notification for the Ganga, which stipulates certain amount of flows downstream of each of these structures. It's important, but we need to be mindful of the fact that Ganga is fed by several smaller tributaries which need to be protected, and that's where the local communities can play a role. Organic farming, natural farming, important because you reduce your water use, you're saving your aquifers. Aquifers feed most of our tributaries. Groundwater feeds most of our rivers. This is a message that I just wanted to convey here, and all of us can play.
And this term environmental flow, it's something that we say a lot among the experts, among the media, but it means to have enough water flowing in the Ganga, because we all imagine the Ganga is flowing, it's going across the north and going down to Bengal, but actually in many parts it's broken. You have sandbars coming up, it gets very, very shallow. Actually, in one part where it's really wide and it's literally like till here. So that's also an issue because a lot of the Ganga water gets diverted, Uttarakhand, to the canals for the irrigation system. Could you just explain that?
Absolutely. Sorry for using the term environmental flows. It's about the quantity and quality and the timing of flows. किस वक्त पे कितना पानी कहाँ पे मिल रहा है. So that's very, very important for a river to be called as a river. So for instance, we have the Bhimgoda Barrage. Haridwar is very famous. Harki Paudi में जहाँ पे हम स्नान लेने जाते हैं, so that's actually a canal. It's not the Ganga. Water is from the Ganga, but it's not the river itself. The river herself flows far away, clean and dry. And so that's where we are saying that the river should have adequate flows. And the government of India has recognized that, and we're talking about Aviral, that is continuous flow of water in the river. So now Ganga is, again, I just wanted to go back to say that Ganga is made of tributaries, and the tributaries need to be preserved. And that's where, like something is saying, because of the initiative of the government and many stakeholders, we are now discovering that dolphins are there in many parts of the Ganga, and not just the main Ganga. And these are people, they're far more conscious than us who are sitting in cities like Delhi. They are taking steps to help us understand the dolphin behavior. And I can tell you several names of women, rural women, who has been monitoring the movement of river dolphins across their villages, alerting the department and alerting other stakeholders on when a dolphin gets entangled in a fishing net. So there are several of these initiatives that we need to learn from. Asha workers, these are the local health workers.
I think everybody learned about during the COVID years.
Yeah, Asha workers doing water quality monitoring in rivers. Inspiring. And we are all educated. And it's no rocket science to actually go across to our river and mount the water. So I'm saying that across one, awareness is definitely needed, and we are seeing that awareness is increasing because of course media and the kind of awareness campaigns.
And efforts like these, I think, creating more awareness. And making it
but the challenge for us is from awareness to action.
Sure.
Quite often the perception is that Nadi ka rejuvenation it's very complicated. Let the government do it. So we need to kind of demystify that rejuvenation part to say that each one can take a small step which can actually bring a huge difference to our rivers and ecosystem. So there are several things. So one of the things that I had brought some slides. One of the things that I wanted to ask this group is how many of you know how much water do you consume in a day?
We
don't know. And Delhi is a city of 20 million people. And even if you consume, the statistics show that average 240 liters per person per day. 240 liters per person per day, and that runs to 1 million. Even if all of us say 1 liter of water in a day, it's 20 million liters of water. Calculated over 365 days. It's a huge amount of water that is saved. On the other side, why this saving is important? Your aquifers will have more water. Your waste that runs into the Yamuna will be reduced by at least 80%. So, a small step, and that's why this engagement, active collaboration with stakeholders is important. We need to demystify what dolphin conservation means at our household. So I think that's something that we need to sort of
Right.
communicate.
Thanks for that, Suresh. Now, Sanjay, as the legal person on this panel, laws have changed. There's been a lot of dolphin protection, and Mr. Shokumari even spoke about how locals are now aware how it's illegal when they catch the dolphin. So there is a bit of that they are worried on that front. But what more needs to be done in legal terms, or is it not so much legal? It's more what Suresh was talking about in terms of community and holistically we need to create that awareness rather than have this danda.
And the Wildlife Act itself. But you have to understand that law and the legal framework is not really alien to this entire debate. And often you'll have to understand that we start thinking of dolphins only 14 years after the Wildlife Protection Act. It actually came in 1986 when it was introduced. I was just told by Sandeep that the latest species of dolphin came as early as last year into the Wildlife Act. So you have to first understand that there is a framework that exists. There's a lot of international attention. If you look at the CITES, for example, the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Fauna and Flora, you'll find it at the Appendix 1. So it is of high international importance. If you look at the IUCN Red Data List, you'll find dolphins as endangered. If you look at the Convention of Migratory Species, for example, you'll find it in Appendix 2, which is a regulated species. So the framework is there. And my experience is, and of course you have the Environment Protection Act and the Environment Impact Assessment process, which actually look at projects and threats prior to establishing a project. And I think the biggest challenge that I see in this entire debate is how do you maintain that longitudinal integrity of the river? And that's where our little experience in the Northeast when we were sort of contesting the lower Subansiri case, etc. The first thing we realized is that the environment assessment that is done and the e-flow that was discussed, the kind of e-flow quantum that is allowed in the lean season for the river to so-called flow is a huge setback to actually the longitudinal integrity of the river. And we saw that in many cases, whether it is the Subansiri or whether it's the Dibang, there are dolphins in Brahmaputra as well. So there's a lot of focus on Nanda, but very little focus on Brahmaputra, if I can say so. And we need to really understand that process. Internally, when you examine these EIA reports, for example, you'll find that as early as 2016, there was a NABIT circular which says, NABIT is the accrediting body of consultants who prepare these reports, that you need to have marine experts and river experts, riverine ecology experts to prepare these reports. And they will be QCI enabled, QCI accredited. We still don't have those lists which are actually assessing these areas. So for me, the framework that exists is a very, I would say, post facto sort of a framework. It's all there, but we don't preempt the dispute, especially which impacts riverine species as glamorous as dolphins. And we need to do a lot there in the preemptive framework. And I think that's where a lot of effort needs to go. We all know about the indicator species and the health of the river, etc. But what's really impacting the current, we are happy that it's increasing in Ganga. But it is still not debated enough. I'll give you another example of in the EIU process. There are good literature out there. You'll find people talking about misusing dolphin in terms of hunting it for fishing oil. It's a big, and they actually blame certain tribes of the northeast, the Vishnu tribe, for example. If you talk to them, they have a very different version, of course. They think there are people from China who actually come and, or their agents who come and actually trade with fish oil, etc. But again, we have to understand that this preemptive framework is what is important. Rather than a post facto, when something happens, then you sort of go and try to change. I think there's a lot that we need to do in the preemptive framework. That would be my message.
All right. I also like to talk about political will on these issues, because that's very important. When we spoke about how in 2009 the dolphin was declared the national aquatic animal, that was by Dr. Manmohan Singh. It was pushed by Nitish Kumar, and who took quite an interest in this issue and tried to talk about dolphin protection in Bihar as well. And now on the 5th of October, which is National Dolphin Day, which is also I think declared by Nitish Kumar. UP has also declared the dolphin the state aquatic animal. So all these initiatives are also very important, and I know there's also this effort to tie it to mythology and religion, and the dolphin is Ma Ganga, the dolphin is the Vahan, and so those sort of things are being pushed among local communities to create some awareness around it.
My Director General that time, Dr. Mr. R. Mishra, Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, called me and said that on 12th we have a Rasul Ganga Council meeting where the PM is the chair. So in that, can we put the agenda of dolphin, Project Dolphin? And I was very happy because I was trying for so many years for this, and immediately when the agenda came, the PM agreed for that, and he agreed all the ministers, related ministers, that Project Dolphin, and he declared it in 15th August in the Red Fort. So
2020 as the Prime Minister.
Yeah, so what I see is the political will is very important. Recently, I visited Gorakhpur, where Yogi Adityanath was there in the Wildlife Week event. And I gave a lecture of 5-10 minutes. In that, I convinced him that yes, dolphins is, and now he has declared it as a state animal. And they are working, the UP state is working very hard to take this dolphin to higher level. So I think the political will is very important, and you rightly said that. But the important thing is only political will not serve.
Sure, but it's an important component of
Definitely.
effort.
So you see, the dolphin was the project dolphin was declared in 2020, but till today we were struggling for getting funds and things like that. So that is another issue. Without funding, you cannot implement anything. And that is a big problem for us.
There's a big project Dolphin declared in 2020, but the funds are yet to come in that. That's one of those gaps that we often see. Suresh, do you think, there's also this talk about tourism of dolphins, and I can tell you, having filmed in the Ganga and trying to film the dolphin in Vikram was the most difficult thing to do, because, they suddenly appear, and by the time the camera was like, oh, there it is, it appears like somewhere over there, and then somewhere over there. So it's very difficult to see, but we did see quite a few dolphins. Difficult to film, sorry, but seeing them is quite, fascinating to watch. And especially in Kerala, where there's these three massive rocks in the middle of the Ganga, and the dolphins eat that area, and the dolphins, favor it. So there we saw many good magic.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very thrilling to see dolphins jump out, and because it comes for a few seconds, and there have been many boat rides that we've done where we've missed the dolphin because the weather conditions, there are rains, windy weather, you will not see. So you need to be very lucky, and every time you see, it's an inspiration. I just want to go back to Project Dolphin. when we talk about fund constraints, etc. But one thing that the Project Dolphin has triggered is the inquiry into where dolphins exist, how many dolphins exist. The first national enumeration of dolphins was undertaken when the Project Dolphins. And the person who is also leading that is sitting before us here, and I want to ask him a few questions as well. But now at least people know where dolphins exist in the country, all kinds of dolphins. There is also Indus River dolphin in the country. Okay, Bias is the only habitat of Indus River dolphins, and there is only 2 or 3 of them. And still the state of Punjab, way back in 2018, unsung, they've declared that as a state aquatic animal because it's only 3, but we still want to protect those dolphins because it's a breeding population out there. So I'm just saying that while things will move slow, but we have some positives to look at. Recently, there was a meeting where the entire population distribution was discussed and what needs to be done. So I think it takes time, but probably we are moving in the right direction. Now, one of the things that we are unable to do, and I don't know how risky it is going to be, we need to get our urban population see the dolphins. Not from a tourism point of view, but the kind of inspirational value that these dolphins give. Because people go to see tiger and many of them come back to say that, okay, this is inspirational and there are certain things that we need to contribute to, in terms of conservation, in terms of support to communities, etc. And I think this kind of an exchange, I don't know whether tourism is the right way, but exposing our urban population to the charismatic species like dolphin will be
I think you're still interesting when I was saying about tourism of dolphins, because I know tourism can also have its drawbacks and become a little problematic. So what do you see as the biggest challenge right now? And before I open it up, if any of you have questions, we spoke about pollution being one of the big problems with dolphins is facing the flow of water and the shallowness. That's another big issue. The canals, they often go into the canal system and have to be then rescued. So what do you feel is currently the biggest, and of course the key thing?
To me, as a researcher, I think the biggest problem is the unregulated fishing. That is more important for me because these dolphins are blind. They cannot see. They depend on echolocation. And nowadays the fishermen are using nylon nets. And these nylon nets, the sound, the dolphin produce sound and it comes back. That is called echolocation. But nylon absorbs the sound. So these dolphins cannot see and cannot hear also what is their obstacles. And they drown dead in the fishing net. That is one of the important things which we need, because there is regulation that we should not use these nylon nets, but it is not being properly implemented. The Fishery Act is very old now. They have redrafted this Fishery Act, and after that I don't know whether the implementation part will be done or not. A second bigger thing is, as you said, awareness and the tourism part. We have started this dolphin tourism in the Ganga in a trial in 6-7 locations in entire Ganga. What we see is if although now it is in very low level, so the guide, the tourist, the boatmen, if they are properly trained, then they can aware the people, taking them to the distance which need to be maintained from the dolphins or to the habitat or to the breeding area. So that need to be done by the fishermen who need to be properly trained, or the boatman who is properly trained. So proper protocol for the this tourism, if it is maintained, then hopefully it will be fine. But I think as I don't fully agree with Suresh that everybody should go and see the dolphin in the river. Then only. But yes, if they go to the river,
through the media and have more of
We
it.
need to develop passion for
Yes.
this dolphin, not
I know
only
it's
the
very
development.
tiger-centric usually, all our conservation efforts and talks, and
Because-
it's great to have a program on an animal that's less talked about, but very, very important.
Because if you go to see the dolphin, it is like a tiger. It is
It's the top of the food chain in the Ganga.
80-90% there is chance that you will not able to see this dolphin. So that is a very difficult because these are mammals and these come out of the water to have oxygen from the air for breathing, and they move inside the water. So again, the population count which is being done, I don't know how much correct it is. I believe it is not
Like
more
the
than
tigers
60%.
used to be inflated numbers, and now.
So don't go for the number, but yes,
But
one,
yes, as you
one
said,
dolphin
it's
live
important
for.
that they're being seen in other areas where they weren't seen earlier, and I think that is the big focus and
The
the
main
big
problem is
plus.
one dolphin, the life of the dolphin is 24 to 25 years. And the female matured at the age of 12 years. So one female, the gestation period is about 10 months to 11 months. So one female can give birth to only 5 or 6 calves in her lifetime. So the growth rate and the death rate, if you control the death rate, then the growth rate will increase. So the population will automatically increase. So that is the main thing. If you give a good habitat, they will breed and they will, the population will increase.
All right, well, we've talked a lot, and yes, sure. And then if any questions are there, anyone wants to ask anything. Yes.
On the fishing side, this issue had been there for quite a long time. With the West Bengal Forest Department, when Samitra sir was the hawk there, WII, WWF and the Forest Department, we started working with the fishermen to experiment an instrument called pingles. Pingles actually emit sound waves which keeps the dolphin away. WII had done some experiments in the Tulsi River in Jammu for 30 days and they found some good results. So we are actually right now working with the fishermen to see, if this equipment, if attached to the fishing net, can keep the dolphin away. Whereas there is also a challenge that the dolphin need to come back to its habitat. We don't want to expel that away forever. So we have been trying that, and the initial results are quite promising. The dolphins, once the fingers go away, is coming back to the same habitat, so which is a positive sign. And we are trying to sort of give some kind of evidence-based recommendations on how this can be scaled up.
Maybe distributed, because for fishermen, of course, that many of the poorest of the poor, so it really matters to them.
The point here is that we need to look at options. We need to look at solutions. Probably this technology will be at some point in time. So we need to think out of the conservation box to find solutions from elsewhere as well.
Very well, it's very interesting to know that. Yeah, I think you had a question.
Of making a bunch of suggestions and framing them as questions.
Of course, sir, yes.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the Mobius Organization Foundation for this very evocative and very essential topic. It is good to know that at least some focus is going to be on other, what I call godfatherless species. And they are godfatherless. Mr. Suresh Babu raised the point. Incidentally, it was wonderful to see the Irrawaddy dolphin. Who knows about the poor Irrawaddy dolphin? But it is so important, and it's the best breeding site for them in the whole world now. Not in the Irrawaddy, but in Chilika. And Chilika is being threatened, and nobody mentioned this, by an expansion of aquaculture. It's been going ever since the Bangladeshi settlers came, and the nets, I was minister, the nets went up from 24,000 to 25,000 to 45,000 with the capital. But we can go into all that, and there is only one sanctuary in Akbar, but it has to be properly looked after that. And I'm so glad that Mr. Suresh Babu mentioned about the Platinum indeed, which is the Indus Dolphin, which has now come into Punjab. And I think we can probably save it where it will go extinct in Pakistan. It is on the verge of extinction in Pakistan. And I think you should also kindly take that up. That is the Indus Dolphin. Coming to the other questions, I'm very, very grateful for the various topics which were raised, very illuminated. I'll just make a few suggestions, if I may. So try to say why can't this be done? All right. One is, it was mentioned, Mr. Kumar was there, and it was said that it is, one is of course the pollution part. And the government is doing something. It's a huge task. I myself was the second chairman of the then Ganga Action Plan, way back in the 80s, which is a precursor of the Namami Ganga. And in that capacity, I was able to persuade certain state governments to establish certain sanctuaries, including Vikram Shila, which you very rightly mentioned. Yes, you mentioned. And there were a few more. Now I'm afraid we are in the process of denotifying sanctuaries. But that's another matter. While, as you see, we have to lay a greater emphasis also that there is a accidental catch, which was mentioned. And the nylon nets are disastrous because you can't cut them. The animal, it is same applies across the board. Crocodiles, as well as they can't break them. And they can't cut it. So, why can't we have compensation scheme as was done to say the greatest fish of the world, the whale shark. The whale shark comes to the coast of Saurashtra to breed. And I was involved in that, and one thing we must use, and this is extremely helpful in the case of the Ganga, is because the religious sentiment. Religious sentiment in this subcontinent is one of the most major factors for helping conservation. And it is done despite whatever. And here you can use it as it is used for the whale shark. And Morari Babu, people may have heard about it, he adopted that particular idea and said, you see, the whale shark comes to the coast of Saurashtra to breed. And it will be caught by fishermen, Satmarwas community. And the meat was sold for dog meat and dog food and everything. And accidentally catch. Again, importing fish is that. Morari Babu said, आपको आपकी डिग्री है आने आने से इन्हें तो पूजा इन्हें मरा है. This is our daughter coming to give birth at the pier, at the native place. You know, there is a custom in India that the mother, the girl comes back to the first delivery. And then, so that is a sort of religious sentiment. And the second thing is that the Tata Foundation is paying for cutting of the nets. There is the Tata Foundation also in marine, why can't they be involved and asked to go and contribute, cut the net if they will break it. You see, this won't drown. It's you know, bring it with it and produce it before it's much simpler. Cutting the net so that you will have fish there, wherever. And if some organization, including Mr. can pay and release that thing back again, you compensate for the cut net. Secondly, why can't some research be done? Like we have TEDS, Turkish Estate Devices in the net. which is responsible for saving of the truth. Can somebody not put his head together and think of something? Or a dolphin escape to it? I don't know whether it can be done, but we can try. All these are things that can be thought of, but a compensation would be extremely useful. The other thing is, I'm sorry, I'm taking time, I can't finish off, because this is so important. The other thing is, you talked about the fish bait. They are, and it's no use hiding the fact, they are really killed in Bihar and elsewhere, so that they can be used for fish bait. That has to change. They are actually fishermen are captive. It will happen at the time when I was there, it did happen. And therefore, cannot something be done is one is the law. They were always under Schedule 1, but something can be done as an alternative and employing some other law. The other thing is that in a place like Vikramshila and others, why can't they be adequately protected? The other factor is the minimum ecological flow. Aviral Dhara. The Aviral Dhara of Chambal incident. The gigantic dolphin's greatest future is not in the Ganga and the Jamuna, but in the tributary. Chambal number 1, Gagra, Ganga, and there are even in other parts. Those are the ones which had to have that Aviral Dhara. The Wildlife Institute of India has worked out the Aviral Dhara for the Chambal, and it can be for some of the other rivers, especially the rivers which start off in like Chambal. Why can't the authority, Ganga, have the authority of saying that the Aviral Dhara is dropped and order the upstream dams to release the water? If they can be released for irrigation, they can be released for the fauna, flora.
Yes, that constant monitoring is important.
Why can't the authority be given
with
that they will decide this? You want the Ganga to live.
Yes.
We want it to come alive. The authority of release of water must be with that authority.
Unfortunately, Mr. Ashok Kumar, who would have
Why
like
can't
been
it be
really
done?
interested about it.
I hope the recommendation of this thing can be given to the authority in terms of at least something to the region of
All right, I think I'll have to ask that again. That will be another question.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, very important points, all of them, and definitely this is something that, I guess everybody is concerned about. Unfortunately, the person who had the chance to really do something on this was left.
Good evening. Two small questions. How is the counting of dolphin population done? I'm just curious to know that. And secondly, about the Indus dolphins, they're just 3. I mean, are you not fearful they will just die away? How you keep the 3 alive, and it's such a critical number? So what is being done about that?
Has saw the dolphin lasers and yes, the counting is good.
Yes, the counting basically is done by direct sighting. That means you have to drive down the boat and you have to count the dolphin by your naked eye. And therefore, again and again, I am telling you that population count is not very much important for us. The distribution range, improving the distribution range. Because as an experienced person, 33 years of work on dolphins, I can see the dolphins where you cannot see. So my counting will be different than you. But nowadays, the technique has come.
Somebody like me, the counting will be like, oh, I just saw one bob here, it's the same dolphin came and bobbed there. Like, oh, I saw another one there.
But nowadays, the technique has come, that is the acoustic system. So if you put that inside the water, the rain, if it is in the rain, then the dolphin will come with that. So, but the Ganga is so, the width of the Ganga is so much that the acoustic system, I don't know whether it can be viable or not. But in narrow area, narrow river channel, definitely it is very effective. Secondly, about the Indus dolphin, I remember in 2007, along with the forest officer, rediscovered this Indus dolphin in the Bihar in 2007. And that time, we
And it hadn't been seen for how long?
Maybe it has been regularly sighted.
Okay.
And the population is, as a researcher, I don't know why it is happening. For 2007, we counted 5, and till date it is 3 to 5. That means the population is stable. We can see calves, that means breeding is happening, but there is no death. So there is no report of any death. So where the population is going, whether they are migrating to other areas or not, that needs to be studied. But the population in Bihar is now around 5 to 7, not more than that.
Just to add on to R&B worried, yes, we are definitely worried. And what we are trying to do is to ensure, so the issue in Bias River, where you get dolphin, is the diurnal fluctuation of water. During the day, because it's a highly regulated system, upstream there is a dam, so the water level fluctuates. So one of the things that the government of Punjab, along with the MOEFC, is trying to do is to designate, like what you are saying, sir, a designated environmental flows, allowing the dolphins to have enough depth of water. So there is an Indus River dolphin strategy that is being worked out, and probably ensuring that water and habitat conditions probably will help us sail through the situation. Second, we heard DGNMC talk about reintroduction of fish. So again, prey days may be a concern in the BR system. So again, Government of Punjab has started release of the fish, which are the prey days for the dolphins. So with this and the awareness of the local communities who were earlier doing heavy fishing, this 180 kilometer stretch of the Bias is now a Bias conservation reserve. With increased patrolling, I'm not saying that 100% is eliminated, but the fishing trends have come down significantly, and number of dolphin lifters, who are actually in the river, they are ferrymen. They have a mobile phone, they take pictures of threats and pass it on. So the government, the forest department is alerted if there is anything that's happening. So with all this happening, we are very hopeful that the population will not go extinct.
Any more questions? Yes, with the back there.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your insightful discussion. My question is to Suresh Babu, sir. Apologies if my question sounds a little naive, but do you see some years down the line we could have, can you foresee any forms of X2 conservation? Can you foresee any forms of X2 conservation for dolphin species in India? So, like in the United States, we have oceanariums and aquariums that increase awareness amongst people, be it orcas or dolphins. So, like you rightly mentioned that insofar as tourism is concerned, not all people can go out and observe this majestic creature. So maybe not 2 years down the line.
So I think Sanjay, given the law and all, in India, very protected.
So, way back in 2013, the dolphin was declared as a non-human person.
Yes.
I mean, these are concepts that are stated, popularized, but then nothing happens post that. So what does it really mean? It is actually equated with a human being in a way, which means it has legal right to defend itself and so on. But as you said, why can't it be done, for more awareness? Again, way back in 2013, dolphinariums were banned in India, and it was stated as a policy that dolphins should not and cannot be used as an entertainment. So these are policy decisions taken, early on. I don't know whether you need to relook at that or not. But one thing I just wanted to point out while Babu was speaking on this, we always wait for a conflict to happen, whether it's e-flow or anything. But we never use the law preemptively. So I'll give you one example. We have something called the conservation reserve. I don't know how many of you know.
the concept itself. There were two concepts introduced in the Wildlife Act in 2002-2003, where this entire participative conservation model was supposed to flourish in India. And I think dolphin is a great example where riverine or people who are dependent on rivers can actually create these concepts alive. But somehow it remains in books and we wait for a conflict and it doesn't really flow out, you know. And the e-flow, I mean, we were not talking difficult questions here for some reason, I don't know why. But I realized in one of the debates we were having on dams, with an average of 3,000 cubic of water that is normally there in that river, the e-flow was determined as 5 cubic. You can imagine from 3,000 to 5 cubic in a lean season. No dolphin is going to survive in that kind of a riverine forest in the lean season. So we need to really talk a little more seriously on these policy choices that we make and what we really serious about conservation. We had the DG speaking a lot about the NMCG programs. You know, in NGT, it took 4 years to determine how many drains actually flow into the river Ganga. Let alone 20,000 crores which was allocated for it to create ETPs and STPs. In fact, lawyers joke among themselves that Namami Gange is a bunch of ETP and STP programs. Can we move beyond these physical infrastructure and actually start living with the rivers?
Rajiv Gandhi launched it in the
So we need to get a little more serious in my respectful.
Well, I think for that we need more civil society, NGOs and government coordination to take place, which I think we need more of and not happening as much as it should. In fact, it's probably ending.
Positive time, we'll go ahead and we'll conclude with our President of Mobius Foundation. He will address the audience now, and if any of you have any questions, the panelists will be joining us for dinner, so you can quiz them. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Burman, Chairperson of the Mobius Foundation, and M. K. Ranjit Singh, the architect of the Wildlife Act, the esteemed panelist, and the legal mind and the leaderships, and Gagi Rabat doing the anchoring with the Remo that he has so much of knowledge about the dolphins, for maybe general knowledge also. So it was very interesting, and I was reminded, I'm sitting with Sumitra Dasgupta when I was in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change 2020. I was Special Secretary and Financial Advisor. So first time, some budgetary proposal came for dolphins, gangetic dolphins. It was him as ADG Wildlife, and we contributed, not contributed, I would say, we allocated some little amount. And to be honest, I was in that ministry by default because I was from the finance ministry and in capital markets, demonetization. So initially my idea of genetic dolphins wasn't so much. But listening to all of you, I must say my knowledge has gone up many fold, but of course not complete. So conversation will remain for more time to come. And I presume that many of us who didn't know about dolphins so much, and why we took dolphin as a subject, you know, this was last week was a wildlife week, and somehow they discovered that dolphin is a subject initially to start with, and we took this topic of dolphin, preserving the dolphin. Now, why dolphin? Or last time we had tiger event. And we had S.P. Yadav and all these people are my old colleagues from the ministry. And Ankur Ranjit Singh, he was on the dais at that point of time. Why we are taking up these, dolphin, tiger, and maybe in future, stone leopard. These are the epics that at the top of the food chain. They maintain the ecosystem.
they maintain, they indicate the health of the ecosystem. So that is our idea of taking up such topics. I would have been much happier. We invited a lot of people, but I don't know. People have their own commitments. So but it's very interesting. They have recorded it. It will be on the social media. So I hope that many people will come to know about it and will view dolphin in a different light and in a different manner. Now, why we are taking up all these things? You see, this at the current, Mobius Foundation is essentially for sustainable future. Mr. Burman's idea, whom I consider as a scientist, because whenever we have discussions, many of you won't know that he's from MIT, 1964. So whenever I see certificate and so whenever we talk about, so his idea is to how to save the planet. We have only one planet. So how to maintain that balance, ecological balance? So all these epics, animals or epics, like tigers, so that or the dolphin, they're very important to maintain it. And recently, we saw the report which says that at the current rate of extinction of a species is up to 10,000 times higher than the natural rate of extinction. I just repeat, 10,000 times it's higher than the natural rate of extinction. And that up to 1 million species are under threat of extinction in the next few decades. Now, if you see it, it's going to be a catastrophe. Why? Because it's a fine, it's like fine bag, it's a fine painting, it's fine. Nature is like that. If you take out one species or two species, you're talking of 10,000 or 1 million. If you take out that, there's going to be ecological disaster. And people are already saying that we are approaching the sixth extinction, mass extinction of the species. Because everything supports each other. So if you take out one leg from somewhere, the furniture will fall. Similarly, if you take out one species, from the whole biodiversity, this thing, it will fall. So that's the idea of Mobius Foundation. And Mobius Foundation is working towards that. We are picking up these kind of topics. We have conferences. There was a conference on sustainable education, education for sustainable development. So how to incorporate the basic ideas of sustainability in the education curriculum of the children. And one thing which I would also like to highlight, our consumption levels are very good. Population is very high. Aspirations are going up. As aspirations go up, our consumptions will go up. It's going to be a disaster for this country. And the issue of the climate justice will also come in. You see, we are sitting in this room, we are a little insulated. But the people who are poor, who are vulnerable, who are in the coastal areas, who are on those areas which are vulnerable to climate changes, then the climate justice, for them it's required. So the action is required and more of action is required. I just hope by this discussion we are able to propel it, we are able to take some more action. And that's the idea of Mobius Foundation. I thank you. I thank everyone for being here, and I think Jessica will invite them for a nice dinner.
Thank you, sir. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out. And as Mr. Garg also shared that today we're going back, our knowledge about dolphins has been enhanced. So thank you so much, and we shall continue this, and hopefully we can collaborate with you, sir, with the WWF, with you, sir, and see how we can contribute towards dolphin conservation. So I thank you all, and please join us for dinner. Our Mobius staff is for you all. Thank you so much.
Sandeep, live enter से बोलूँगी एंड